My daughter Clara Hale Whitman died 7 years ago, and that night still lives inside my chest like broken glass. I remember the police lights outside my house in Ohio, red and blue shadows shaking on the walls. I remember opening the door and seeing a young officer looking down, not able to meet my eyes. "Mrs. Hale, there's been an accident." I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just knew. At the hospital, Derek Whitman sat on the floor holding little Lily Whitman. His shirt had Clara's blood on it. He kept saying, "Margaret, she was right beside me. She was laughing." And then the truck came. Why her? Why Clara? I hugged him like a son. I told him, "You're not alone, Derek. Lily still has us." He nodded, crying harder. At Clara's funeral, Derek spoke like a broken man. "I promise you, Clara, I will live for Lily. I will be both mother and father to her." Everyone cried. I cried the most, because I believed him. 3 weeks later, my phone rang at midnight. "Margaret, I'm sorry to call so late," Derek said, his voice shaking. "What happened? Is Lily okay?" "She keeps screaming for Clara. She won't sleep. The doctor says she needs therapy, private tutoring, special care. I can't do this alone." "How much do you need, Derek?" I asked softly. There was a long silence. Then he whispered, "About $55,000 a year. Just until things get better." 55,000. It was more than my yearly pension. But Clara was my daughter. Lily was my blood. So I said, "I'll send it tomorrow." I sold Clara's college savings. I sold my little beach cottage in Florida. I even broke my retirement fund. Every January, I wired Derek $55,000. Every time he cried and said, "Margaret, you're saving Lily's life." 7 years passed like that. 7 years of trust. 7 years of silence. 7 years of me sitting alone in my quiet house, staring at Clara's photo and whispering, "I'm taking care of Lily, baby. Don't worry." Then one summer, Derek finally said, "Margaret, come for Lily's birthday." When I reached their house, something felt wrong. The curtains were closed. The walls smelled of smoke. Lily looked thin, quiet, afraid. During the party, Derek laughed loudly with his friends, pouring expensive drinks, bragging about his new car. I looked at Lily and whispered, "Sweetheart, are you happy?" She didn't answer. That night, while I packed my bag, Lily suddenly grabbed my sleeve. Her hands were shaking. "Grandma," she whispered, "don't send Dad any more money. Just follow him, you'll see." My heart stopped. "Lily, what do you mean?" I asked. She looked toward the door, terrified. "I'm scared," she whispered. And in that moment, I knew something was terribly wrong. Next morning, I couldn't stop thinking about Lily's words. Her tiny green eyes, wide with fear, kept haunting me. I brewed my tea, sat by the window, and stared at the empty street outside. My heart raced with a mixture of anger and dread. For 7 years, I had trusted Derek with everything, every penny, every hope, every ounce of love I had left after Clara's death. And now, Lily, my granddaughter, was telling me to stop, to follow him. I tried to reason with myself. Maybe she was imagining things. Children do that. But something in her tone, the way she trembled, I couldn't ignore it. That evening I called Derek. "Derek, Lily said something strange last night." "What did she say, Margaret?" His voice was calm, too calm. "She said, 'Don't send you money anymore.' She said to follow you, she's scared." There was silence on the other end. "Margaret, kids say things. Don't worry about it. Everything is fine," he said finally, too quickly, and hung up. I felt a chill. I couldn't sleep that night. I kept imagining what Lily might have seen, what Derek could be hiding. My gut twisted with fear, but I also felt anger burning under it. 7 years of blind trust, 7 years of sacrifice, and now, doubt. The next morning, I decided. I would follow him, quietly. I couldn't just sit and wait while my granddaughter lived in fear. I packed my small purse, left Lily's favorite teddy in her bed, and told no one where I was going. Derek left the house at exactly 8:15 a.m., just as he always did. He drove his black Mercedes, humming to some pop song on the radio, and I trailed behind him in my old sedan, keeping a safe distance. My heart pounded so loud I thought he might hear it from inside his car. He drove past the city limits, into the country roads, where the trees leaned close, whispering in the wind. I followed him for miles, past abandoned barns and cornfields that stretched to the horizon. And then he stopped at a small, nondescript house I had never seen before. He parked, got out, and went inside. I waited across the street, hiding behind a cluster of bushes. My hands shook. My mind raced. I saw him open the garage, carry something inside. He was not alone. 2 men were there, strangers I had never seen. They laughed and clapped Derek on the back. Then they lifted boxes filled with stacks of cash, envelopes marked with amounts that made my stomach turn. My blood ran cold. I realized with horror that all those $55,000 I had sent for Lily's care had never touched her life. It had gone somewhere else. Something terrible. Something illegal. I drove home slowly that night, my hands gripping the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles whitened. I couldn't believe it. Derek, the man I had trusted like a son, was a liar, a thief, a manipulator. When I walked in the house, Lily ran into my arms. "Grandma, did you see?" she whispered. "I saw, baby." "I saw everything," I said, hugging her tightly. She cried into my shoulder, and I promised her that from now on, I would protect her no matter what. I knew what I had to do next. I had to get proof. I had to make sure the world and Derek knew that I wasn't blind anymore. I started planning. Every step, every move, every phone call, every wire transfer, I would trace them, and I would confront him. But I had no idea how far Derek would go to protect his secret. Over the next few days, I watched Derek's routine. Every morning, every errand, every dinner, I kept a notebook, writing down every detail. He never noticed me. He thought I was blind, old, and foolish. But I wasn't. Not anymore. I remembered every word Lily had whispered. "Just follow him, you'll see." She had seen what I couldn't, and her fear was real. I started recording, small hidden cameras in the bushes near his office, photos of him meeting men in dark alleys, receipts for cash withdrawals that didn't make sense. I stayed awake nights tracing every transaction, every wire transfer, and every envelope that left my account and went somewhere. Then one afternoon, Derek called me. "Margaret, everything okay?" His voice was too smooth. "I'm fine, Derek," I said, my voice calm. "Just wanted to ask, where exactly does the money go? You said it was for Lily's school, therapy, and care." There was a pause. Long. Too long. "Margaret, you worry too much," he said finally. "You don't need to worry about that. Lily's fine. She's happy. That's what matters." But I knew the truth. I could see it in his eyes, the fear that I was finally noticing, that I might catch him. That night, I decided to confront him, but not openly. I had to be smart. I had to get undeniable proof. I began calling a private investigator friend from my past. Years ago, when I taught at the library, I had worked on cold cases with him. I explained the situation without telling him Derek's name at first. "Someone is exploiting a child's inheritance," I said. "I need proof. I need photos, records, everything. Can you do it discreetly?" "Leave it to me, Margaret. I'll find everything," he said. While waiting for the investigator, I continued my secret surveillance. One evening, I followed Derek to a hotel downtown. He checked into a room carrying a small briefcase. Moments later, 2 men entered with more briefcases, laughing, joking. They were clearly expecting him. I stayed across the street, shivering, heart racing. Inside the hotel, I could see through the slightly tinted windows stacks of cash, envelopes, paperwork, enough to make my head spin. I drove home slowly that night, thinking of Lily. 7 years. 7 years of my money, stolen under my nose. And all the while, I had trusted him. When I got home, Lily was asleep, but I whispered into the dark, "Don't worry, baby, Grandma will fix this." I didn't sleep that night. I sat at the kitchen table, sipping tea, looking at the photo of Clara and Lily. I whispered, "I will make this right, Clara. I will protect our girl." The next day, the private investigator called. "Margaret, I have everything you need," he said. "Photos, receipts, records. Derek is laundering your money. He has multiple shell companies. He's buying properties under fake names. This is serious." I closed my eyes. My hands shook. Can you make it stop?" I asked. "Yes, but you have to be careful. He's dangerous when cornered. You don't want him to suspect you yet." That was the moment I realized. The story of my life, my daughter, my granddaughter, had turned into something bigger than just grief. It had become a battle for Lily's safety. The next day I started following Derek myself. That morning he drove to a nondescript office building with another man. I hid across the street, watching from my old sedan. The building seemed small from the outside, but through the slightly tinted windows I could see lights, movement, people laughing, papers being shuffled. It didn't look like a normal business. It looked like a secret operation. I pulled out my phone and began recording every detail, careful to stay unseen. That night, Lily whispered again as I tucked her into bed. "Grandma, all the money we send, it's not for me. I've seen it." I held her close and said, "Baby, we're going to find out the truth. You don't need to be afraid anymore." She buried her face in my shoulder and whispered, "I'm scared, Grandma." I took her hand in mine and thought about 7 years of sacrifice, every $55,000 I had sent, every promise I had trusted Derek to keep. All of it had been a lie. That week, I met with an old friend who was a private investigator. I showed him the evidence I had gathered, my surveillance notes, phone logs, and bank statements. He examined everything carefully. "Margaret," he said finally, "Derek is laundering the money. He has shell companies, properties, and fake names. This is serious." I closed my eyes. My hand shook as I held Lily close. "Can we stop him?" I asked. "Yes," he said, "but you must be careful. He's dangerous when cornered. Don't let him know you're watching too closely yet." Over the next several days, I became obsessed. I traced Derek's movements, followed him to meetings, hid in the shadows, photographed envelopes of cash, recorded conversations. He never noticed me. He thought I was still blind, old, and foolish, but I was watching and I was ready. That night, as I sat alone in my kitchen, staring at Clara's photo and sipping tea, I whispered, "I will protect our girl, Clara. I will make this right." The next morning, I followed Derek again. He went to a downtown hotel, carrying a small briefcase. 2 men met him there, laughing as they loaded more cash into the room. My stomach churned. I realized, with a cold certainty, that all the money I had sent for Lily's care had been stolen. All 7 years of trust, sacrifice, and love had fed something terrible. Driving home, I kept thinking of Lily. 7 years I had trusted him, and now I understood what she had feared. She had seen the truth. I had ignored it. That night, Lily again whispered, "Grandma, we have to stop him. Please don't send him more money. Follow him." I held her hand and promised, "I will, baby. I swear, I will." And that's when I realized what had started as grief had turned into a battle for Lily's safety, for her future, for the justice my daughter never got. Every wire transfer, every hidden account, every lie Derek had told, I was going to uncover them all. 7 years of deception had made Derek bold. But now, he had no idea I was ready to fight. This was only the beginning. The morning sun had barely touched the rooftops when I started my sedan, careful not to wake Lily. I couldn't let Derek know I was watching. I needed to see everything for myself, to understand where all the money had gone. Derek left the house at exactly 8:12 a.m., humming to a radio station that always played soft jazz. I followed at a distance, my heart pounding so loudly I thought he might hear it from inside his car. He drove to a suburban neighborhood I didn't recognize. Rows of identical townhouses stretched endlessly. He parked behind one of them, glanced around, and then disappeared into the garage. I waited, crouched behind a hedge. My hands shook. I could see through the cracks. 2 men unloading boxes from the back of a van. Cash, stacks of envelopes. Documents. I swallowed hard, trying not to make a sound. Then Derek's voice floated to me. "Make sure everything is in order. We can't leave any traces." One of the men laughed. "Relax, Derek. No one will ever know." I pressed my hand over my mouth. Willie had been right. Every dollar I had sent had been funneled here, into some secret operation I had never imagined. I drove home slowly, my mind racing. I had to plan. I had to think. Confronting Derek blindly would be dangerous. That evening, Lily climbed onto the couch beside me, clutching her worn teddy bear. "Grandma, he's gonna get mad if you follow him. I heard him yell once. Really loud," she said softly. "I know, baby," I said, stroking her hair. "But we can't let him scare us anymore. We're going to make sure you're safe." Her little green eyes, so much like Clara's, looked into mine. I could see the fear lingering there, years of quiet suffering that I had never known. The next day I met my old friend, the private investigator, in a small cafe downtown. "Margaret," he said, sliding a manila envelope across the table, "these are all the documents you need. Bank transfers, shell companies, fake addresses, everything Derek has used to cover this up." I picked up a photo from the envelope. Derek, smiling, shaking hands with a man in a dark suit, cash stacked on a table behind them. My stomach turned. "Can we stop him before he notices me watching?" I asked, voice barely above a whisper. "Yes," he said firmly, "but you have to be careful. He's unpredictable when he feels cornered. Don't confront him yet." I nodded. My hands trembled with a mixture of fear and determination. 7 years of trust had been stolen, but now I had proof. Now I had a plan. That afternoon, I followed Derek to a small airport on the edge of town. He got into a private jet with 2 of the same men I had seen before. Briefcases full of cash were loaded onto the plane. My heart raced. Where was he taking it? Who was receiving this money? Back home, Lily was waiting, restless and nervous. "Grandma, did you see where he went?" she asked. "I did, sweetheart," I said, holding her close, "and we're going to find out everything." Over the next few days, I traced Derek's route. Each stop was more suspicious than the last. Old warehouses, anonymous offices, luxury apartments registered under names I had never heard. Each one held more proof that Derek had been living a lie. One evening, while reviewing photos, Lily peeked over my shoulder. "Grandma, look," she whispered, pointing at an image of Derek smiling while counting cash. I swallowed hard. "Yes, baby, that's him. That's what he's been doing all these years." Her small hand squeezed mine. "Can we stop him?" I looked into her terrified eyes and nodded. "We will, Lily, I promise." That night I couldn't sleep. I lay awake thinking about the confrontation ahead. Derek had taken everything, 7 years of my money, 7 years of blind trust, and my daughter's memory. But now the hunter had become the prey. Tomorrow I would follow him again. Tomorrow I would learn the full extent of his deceit. And the closer I got, the more dangerous it became. The following morning, I followed Derek as he left for the city. He drove past familiar streets, but then turned onto a deserted industrial road I had never noticed before. My old sedan stayed hidden in the shadows, engine idling softly. I held my breath, my hands gripping the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles ached. Derek stopped at a long, gray warehouse. He looked around carefully, then slipped inside. I parked behind a stack of shipping containers and crawled under a fence to get closer. Inside, the warehouse was dimly lit, the hum of fluorescent lights filling the cavernous space. 2 men were stacking crates labeled with numbers I couldn't understand. Another man was opening a large safe, counting stacks of cash. Derek paced nervously, checking his phone, muttering under his breath. I raised my camera, zooming in. Every detail had to be captured. I recorded the cash, the men, Derek's movements. Each moment made my stomach churn. All the money I had sent for Lily's care, every envelope, Every wire transfer had gone into this hidden operation. 7 years of sacrifice, blind trust, and love, wasted on a lie. I crouched behind a metal beam, whispering to myself, "This ends, Derek. You're not getting away with this." Then I heard a voice. "Grandma, are you really here?" Lily's whisper made my blood run cold. I turned to see her small frame peeking from behind a crate, eyes wide with fear. "Lily, stay down, baby. Don't move," I hissed. "But Grandma, I had to see. I had to know he was lying," she said, tears brimming. I swallowed hard. "You're brave, Lily, but it's dangerous. We can't be caught." She nodded, gripping her teddy bear tightly. We watched together as Derek handed a thick envelope of cash to one of the men. The man nodded, counting the bills quickly, then slipped away into a van parked outside. Derek checked the crates, ensuring everything was in order. Then he left, unaware that we had seen everything. That night, back at home, Lily climbed onto my lap. "Grandma, he's so bad," she said quietly. "Yes, baby, but now we know." "And knowing is the first step," I said, stroking her hair. "We're going to make sure you're safe, I promise." The next few days were a blur of shadowing Derek, photographing meetings, recording phone calls, and tracking the movement of his secret shipments. Each discovery was worse than the last. Derek wasn't just using the money to live lavishly, he was laundering it through fake companies, buying properties under false names, and investing in things I couldn't even understand. One evening, Derek called my home. "Margaret, are you still worrying about Lily's school fees?" His voice was calm. Almost too calm. "I'm just making sure everything is accounted for, Derek," I replied, keeping my tone neutral. "You said the money was for her? I need to know it's being used properly." There was a pause. I could almost hear him calculating. "Margaret, Lily is fine, trust me," he said finally, too quickly. "Everything is fine, stop worrying." I hung up, my hands trembling. 7 years of trust, 7 years of blind belief, all shattered in a single call. That night, I met with the private investigator. "Margaret, we have enough to bring him down," he said, spreading out files, photos, and recordings. "But be careful. He knows money flows, he knows contacts, and he's clever. One false move and he'll disappear or cover tracks." "I'm ready," I said firmly. "I've waited 7 years. He won't hurt Lily anymore." The investigator nodded. "Good. We'll compile the evidence, trace every dollar, and create a timeline. Then, we hit him where it hurts." Over the next week, we meticulously built the case. Every transaction, every property, every meeting Derek had attended was documented. I followed him one final time to a secluded mansion outside the city. He entered with a briefcase full of cash, and through the bushes, I saw him hand it to a man wearing a dark suit. My camera clicked endlessly, capturing the entire operation. Driving home, I felt a mixture of relief and dread. Finally, the truth was in my hands. Derek's empire of lies, built on my grief and trust, was exposed. But I knew confronting him would be dangerous. He was unpredictable, cunning, and ruthless. That night, Lily climbed into bed with me. "Grandma, what happens now?" she asked softly. "We fight, baby," I whispered, holding her tight. "We fight for you. For Clara. For all the years he took from us." And as she fell asleep in my arms, I made a silent promise to myself and to her mother. Derek Whitman would not get away with a single lie. Every secret, every deception, every dollar, I would uncover it all. The battle had begun. The next morning, I woke before dawn, my mind racing. 7 years of stolen money, 7 years of lies, and now a plan forming in my head. Derek thought he was untouchable, but he had underestimated me. I brewed my tea, took a deep breath, and went over every detail I had collected. Photographs, bank statements, recordings. Everything pointed to the same truth. Derek Whitman was a fraud, and the people around him were complicit. By mid-morning, I was in my old sedan, quietly following him. Derek had taken a new route that day, cutting through industrial roads I hadn't seen before. My heart thumped in my chest as I turned the wheel, keeping a careful distance. He stopped at a large, empty warehouse, this one different from the others, long, gray, and deserted. I parked behind a stack of shipping containers and got out, crouching low. Through the cracks in the building's side door, I saw him. Derek was counting money with meticulous care, stacks of bills spread across a steel table. The two men who always accompanied him were there, checking ledgers, moving envelopes. Derek's eyes scanned the room constantly, and I could see the tension in his posture. Something was about to happen, I could feel it. Suddenly, one of the men laughed. "Relax, Derek. Everything is ready for the shipment tonight." I know, Derek muttered. "Just make sure no one finds out. This has to look clean." My hand shook on the camera. That voice, that smug calmness, sent a wave of anger through me. 7 years. 7 years I had trusted him, and he had built a secret life behind my back. Then I heard Lily's voice. "Grandma, I'm scared," she whispered from behind a stack of crates. I froze. "Lily, stay hidden, baby. Don't move." "I had to see, Grandma. I couldn't just stay home and pretend," she said, tears in her eyes. I held her close. "I know, baby. I see now, but we have to be smart. No one can know we're here." We stayed in the shadows, watching as Derek and his accomplices prepared the cash to be transported. He checked the crates again, verified serial numbers, and made notes in a ledger. The thought that every dollar I had sent for Lily's care had funded this operation made my blood boil. By late afternoon, Derek finally left, carrying another briefcase, unaware we had documented everything. I waited a few minutes, then guided Lily back to my car. "We've seen enough for today, baby. Now, we go home and plan our next move." Back at home, I spread out all the evidence I had: photographs, recordings, receipts. I began connecting the dots, tracing the flow of money, identifying shell companies, and marking locations where Derek had hidden his tracks. Lily watched me silently, hugging her teddy bear, understanding more than most children her age. That evening, I received a call from the private investigator. "Margaret, you've got enough evidence to confront him. But timing is everything. He's shrewd. You can't rush it." "I know," I said firmly. I want him to pay for what he's done. For Clara, for Lily, for all these years." The investigator nodded. "We'll coordinate. We'll make sure every transaction, every property, every lie is accounted for. When the time comes, he won't be able to deny anything." Over the next several days, I followed Derek relentlessly. He visited high-rise offices, made secret deliveries, and held meetings in dimly lit warehouses. Each observation revealed more of his web of deceit. I documented everything, cross-referencing receipts, tracking every envelope of cash. The realization that I had been blind for so long fueled my determination. One night, as I reviewed footage, Lily climbed onto my lap. "Grandma, will he ever get caught?" she asked softly, voice trembling. "Yes, baby," I whispered, stroking her hair. "He will, and when he does, he won't be able to hurt anyone else ever again." The next morning, I followed him to a suburban mansion outside the city. Derek stepped out of his car, briefcase in hand, greeted by 2 men. They carried crates inside. I crouched behind the trees, capturing everything on camera. I could see his excitement, the same smug expression he always wore when he thought no one was watching. For the first time, I realized that I wasn't just collecting evidence. I was preparing to take back control. 7 years of deception had made Derek bold, but I had patience, intelligence, and the drive to protect my granddaughter. That night, I sat in Lily's room. "Tomorrow we get closer," I whispered. "We follow every move, every transaction, and we will have the proof we need to stop him. No more lies, no more stolen years." She hugged me tightly. "I am scared, Grandma." "I know, baby," I said, holding her close. "But fear is only a signal. It tells us what we need to do, and we will be brave together." As I lay awake that night, I made a vow. Derek Whitman had taken everything from me: my trust, my peace, my daughter's memory, but he had underestimated the strength of a mother's love. Every hidden envelope, every illicit deal, every lie, I would expose it all. And when I did, Derek would finally understand what it meant to face the consequences of 7 years of betrayal. The hunt was only beginning, and I was ready. The next morning, I didn't wait for Derek to leave the house. I had planned my route meticulously, memorized his schedule, and I knew exactly which warehouse he would visit. My old sedan hummed softly as I trailed him, keeping a safe distance, turning down side streets, blending with the traffic. Derek stopped at a nondescript building on the edge of the city. He got out, carrying a slim briefcase, and waved at a man in a gray suit, waiting for him. The man nodded, and they disappeared inside. I parked across the street and took out my camera. Every detail had to be documented. Minutes passed, then I saw movement boxes being carried, envelopes exchanged, cash stacked on tables. Derek's calm facade was back, the same charm he used to hide the truth from me all those years. My hands shook, anger and fear mixing in a sharp knot inside my chest. Suddenly, the man in the gray suit turned toward the street. I froze, holding my breath. Derek's voice carried through the open door. "Make sure everything is ready for tonight. We can't afford mistakes." The man laughed. "Relax, Derek. No one knows about this yet." I pressed my hand to my mouth, the weight of 7 years of stolen money, lies, and betrayal crashing over me. I had trusted him, believed him, sent him every penny I could spare, and he had built an empire of deceit on my grief. Then I felt a small tug at my sleeve. "Grandma, I followed you," Lily whispered, her voice trembling. "I had to know." "Shh, baby, stay hidden," I hissed. "We're almost done watching, don't move." She clutched her teddy bear tightly. "I'm scared," she admitted. "I know, baby, but you're brave, and we're going to make him pay for everything," I whispered, squeezing her hand. As Derek and the men worked, I documented everything, the cash, the shipments, the ledgers, the envelopes, all proof of his deception. My camera clicked endlessly, capturing the evidence I would need. Hours later, Derek left, carrying the briefcase. I waited 10 minutes, then guided Lily safely back to the car. "We've seen enough for now, baby. Tomorrow we go further." Back home, I spread out all the documents, photographs, and recordings I had collected. I traced every dollar, marked every property, and made detailed notes about the shell companies Derek used. Each piece of evidence made my resolve stronger. That evening, I met the private investigator in a quiet cafe. "Margaret, you have what we need for a direct confrontation," he said. "But timing is everything. Derek is clever. He can sense suspicion." "I know," I said, determination hardening in my voice. "I've waited 7 years. He won't hurt Lily anymore." The investigator nodded. "Good. We'll make sure every transaction is traced, every lie exposed. When the time comes, he won't be able to deny a thing." The next few days, I followed Derek relentlessly. Each stop revealed more: abandoned warehouses, high-rise offices, luxury apartments, and clandestine meetings with men I had never seen before. Every moment documented, every transaction accounted for. The picture of his empire of lies became clearer. One afternoon, Derek called my home. "Margaret, still worried about Lily's school fees?" His voice was calm, almost too calm. "I'm just making sure the money is being used properly," I replied, keeping my voice neutral. "You said it was for her." There was a long pause. I could almost hear him calculating. "Margaret, Lily is fine. Everything is fine," he said finally. Too quickly, and hung up. I clenched my fists. 7 years of trust, 7 years of blind faith, all shattered in one call. That night, Lily climbed into my lap. "Grandma, what do we do now?" she asked, her small hands clutching my arm. "We fight, baby," I whispered, holding her tight. "We fight for you, for Clara, and for all the years he stole from us." And in that moment, I realized the first step toward justice was clear. Derek had built a house of lies, but I held the key to dismantle it. Every hidden envelope, every illicit deal, every lie I would expose it all. The battle had begun, and this time, I was ready. The morning was unusually quiet. The sunlight filtered through the blinds, casting thin lines across the hardwood floor. I sat at the kitchen table, Lily beside me, reviewing all the evidence one last time. Every photograph, every bank statement, every hidden recording. It was all here. Derek Whitman's lies, 7 years in the making, were finally exposed. Grandma, are we really going to stop him? Lily asked, her small green eyes wide with fear and determination. Yes, baby, I said firmly, brushing her hair from her face. It ends today. No more lies, no more stolen money, no more fear. By mid-morning, I drove to Derek's suburban mansion. The private investigator followed in another car, radioing the updates on Derek's movements. He had no idea we were ready. He thought he was untouchable. That confidence would be his downfall. I watched from a distance as Derek stepped out, briefcase in hand, greeted by two of his usual men. They carried crates into the house. I ducked behind a tree, my camera capturing every detail. My heart pounded, not with fear this time, but with the certainty that justice was near. I called Derek on my cell. Derek? It's Margaret, I said, my voice calm but icy. Margaret? What do you want now? His tone was polite, but I could hear the tension under it. I know everything, I said. Every transaction, every envelope, every lie, and I have proof. There was a long pause. I could almost hear him calculating his options. You can't prove anything, he finally said, his voice faltering. I already have, I replied. And Lily is here too. She's seen what you've done. The lies end today. I heard him mutter something under his breath before hanging up. I smiled, knowing the trap was set. I approached the mansion carefully, the investigator close behind. Our evidence compiled and ready. Inside, Derek looked up when I walked in, his confident mask slipping. Margaret, what is this? He asked, eyes darting between me and the investigator. I'm here to collect the truth, Derek, I said, holding up a folder of photos, recordings, and financial documents. 7 years of lies, stolen money, betrayal. It ends today. He laughed nervously. You don't understand. I did what I had to do. It was all for yourself, I interrupted, voice sharp. Not Lily, not Clara. For yourself. And now, it's over. He tried to grab the folder, but the investigator stepped forward, holding Derek at bay. You've crossed the line, Derek. There's no escaping this, the investigator said. Lily stepped forward, her small hand clutching mine. Grandma, he lied to me, she said softly, but firmly. He lied about everything. Derek froze. For the first time, I saw fear in his eyes. He realized that the years of deception, the stolen money, the lies, were all exposed. I laid out every single document before him, bank statements showing the money diverted, photographs of him with the accomplices, recordings of secret meetings. Every word, every action, every lie, undeniable. He swallowed hard, pale, realizing he had nowhere to hide. Margaret, please, he started, voice breaking. You don't get to plead anymore, Derek. You stole from a child, from her mother. From me, I said firmly. Justice will follow. The private investigator contacted authorities with the evidence, ensuring that Derek's empire of lies cannot be rebuilt. I watched as officers prepared to take him away. The weight of 7 years of grief, worry, and fear finally lifted. Lily hugged me tightly. Grandma, we're safe now, she whispered. Yes, baby, I said, tears streaming down my face. We are safe now, and we'll stay that way. As Derek was escorted out, I felt a strange mix of relief and vindication. 7 years of blind trust, 7 years of sacrifice, 7 years of fear. All of it had led to this moment. The lies had crumbled, the truth was exposed, and justice was served. That night, I tucked Lily into bed. She smiled sleepily, clutching her teddy bear. Grandma, will we be okay now? Yes, baby, I whispered. Forever. We're okay now. I looked at her sleeping face, and for the first time since Clara died, I felt peace. I had protected my granddaughter. I had avenged my daughter's memory, and though the scars of the past would always remain, the future was finally ours. The battle was over, but the love that guided me through those 7 years would remain stronger than any lie, any betrayal, or any thief who thought they could take it away. And in that quiet house, under the soft glow of the lamp, I finally allowed myself to breathe. The nightmare was behind us, and a new beginning awaited.